Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Grocky, Marketing Director at LISI, and I'm here with a very special guest. It's actually with a partner of ours that have come to us by way of AmWINS, who have founded a company called Jumpstart, and her name, and we're pleased to have her, is Kate Stillwell. So Kate, welcome.
Hi Jeff, thanks so much for having me. Really happy to have coffee with your series, even if it's virtual.
That's awesome, and I love the mug. That's such a great touch. Thanks for going the extra mile. You were kind of brought to our attention, and we've been working together for a little while to offer our brokers in the California market a unique product. And you are the founder of the company that offers that product, and I'd love to hear a little bit of backstory about you, and then kind of the origin story of the product itself.
Thanks. Yeah, the product and the name of the company is called Jumpstart, and the idea is to get you a jump start on your recovery process after a natural disaster. So I started my career as a licensed structural engineer, so designing buildings to be safe in earthquakes, and I actually went on to become the president of the Structural Engineers Association of California for a term, and it was in that role that I realized that, wow, earthquakes do a lot of damage, and keeping the building safe is a really important aspect of making sure we can all recover. But there are also a lot of missing pieces in making sure we can all recover. And one of those pieces is having enough money flowing into the system. And the disaster that really shone a light on that was Hurricane Katrina. And now I'm dating myself by saying that I had been practicing for a while at that time. But what good are safe buildings if people can't stick around and stay in their communities? If 40% of people after Hurricane Katrina left New Orleans and never came back, what would that mean for our cities in Los Angeles or up in the Bay Area? That would completely change the character of our cities. So how do we get more money flowing in? And so we created a private market insurance product that aims to do exactly that, get more money flowing in right at the time when we're all gonna need it. And in California, the time that we're the most likely disaster, of course, we're in the middle of COVID right now, but the most likely disaster in California is specifically earthquakes. Jumpstart provides our customers a $10,000 payment right away within a couple days after a large earthquake strikes your area. So it's a lump sum. It is not meant to rebuild your house, but it's also available to renters in addition to homeowners. It's meant to pay for any extra expense as a result of the earthquake, whether that's increased childcare or elder care, whether that's first month's, last month's deposit on a new place, no matter what those expenses are. $10,000 lump sum after a big earthquake.
That's fantastic, and it's interesting because, as I understand it, this product is unique in its own right in that it's a parametric product, or parametric line of insurance. And so tell us a little bit about exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for asking. Parametric is, as you said, a new category of insurance, and it refers to products that pay a lump sum, a pre-agreed amount of money upon occurrence of a specific event or parameter or piece of data. And that's parameter is why it's called parametric, as opposed to trying to make you whole. And there are things out there that are like parametric products, like some travel insurance, some life insurance is this lump sum upon the occurrence of a specific event, which is what Jumpstart is.
Describe a little bit about the ideal consumer for Jumpstart, or the person, I guess, that you would be targeting that this would be the most useful for.
Yeah, great question. One of the most terrifying statistics about Americans' financial status is that fully 60%, maybe even higher than that, of Americans don't have even $1,000 in savings. And so what that means is that a natural disaster can become a financial disaster for a majority of those of us who really do live paycheck to paycheck. And this is not just the poorest of the poor. These are friends and neighbors and people we know who really don't have savings. And so $10,000 really makes the difference between being able to stay and tough it out and help your neighbors versus having to pick up and leave and hike back to Minnesota or Oklahoma or wherever it is we moved here from.
Yeah, and the speed with which that delivery kind of gets made is something I'd love to just have you explain a little comparison for. So the speed of a Jumpstart payment compared to the speed of something that's more traditional indemnity, like earthquake product.
Sure. So the process of getting your Jumpstart payment is that the earthquake happens. 24 hours later, we push text messages to all of our customers saying you are eligible to receive your Jumpstart payment. Please reply yes. As soon as the customer replies yes, we initiate the payment to their electronic account on file. So that payment can occur as soon as the next day after the earthquake.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I know that as soon as I heard, I'm not from California, but when we first met, I looked into the product, obviously, and I thought this is a probably phenomenal little piece of insurance and something that I might want to pick up myself. Having experienced only a few minor tremors, still enough urgency, to go out and pick up a product of this nature. So Kate, can you explain exactly how this does differ from a traditional earthquake insurance product?
There's conventional earthquake insurance for your home and for renters. So let's talk about your home, because that's what most people think of when they think of conventional earthquake insurance. First of all, it's not included as part of your regular homeowners insurance. It's explicitly excluded, and you have to buy it extra as an extra endorsement. And it has the potential to double or even triple the cost of your underlying theft and liability and fire insurance, your underlying homeowners insurance. So the price tag is high. Also, the deductibles, the standard deductibles are really quite high as well. They can be 10 to 15%, which for an average California home is somewhere around $80,000 to $90,000. So Jumpstart is very different from that because it's not meant to protect your home, but also the price is right. It's about 1/10 the cost of this standard homeowners earthquake policy. And the payment happens right away, and the payment you can use the money for anything you need. You don't have to prove that you have physical breakage or damage to your home, because everybody's going to need some sort of walking around money in the case of a big earthquake.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. I heard so when I first moved here, I did hear some stories about the extent of the damage, that there was an earthquake, that the epicenter was somewhere near Northridge. And so I know you also have a story about a Ridgecrest earthquake that I wasn't around for, but would love to just get a little bit of background on some of that, because I think there's an anniversary coming up, or we just recently passed an anniversary.
Right. So I love talking about earthquake anniversaries because it's something that I know every single one off the top of my head. So there was this Northridge earthquake in 1994 in January at 5 o'clock in the morning. And a lot of the folks who live in the Los Angeles area, particularly the northern parts in the valley, remember that morning and tell their story about where they were. And it did create a lot of disruption to the whole Los Angeles community, but particularly the area north in the San Fernando Valley. And the anniversary just passed the 1-year anniversary of the Ridgecrest earthquake, which occurred out in the desert, sort of halfway to Las Vegas. And that occurred July 4th, and then another one on July 5th of 2019. And we saw a significant uptick in customers. We were already live at that point in time, and we did have a payment zone that was triggered by that earthquake that was in the Ridgecrest area. At that time, we had just launched less than a year ago, and we didn't have any customers in Ridgecrest at the time. But of course we do now, because people who experienced the earthquake found us and realized, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, even though it wasn't widespread mass destruction like in San Andreas movie, it did cause life to get disrupted in that region for several months.
Yeah, it's incredible. And, it is really interesting to meet somebody that has the enthusiasm about this particular subject matter, right? And so I can't imagine following earthquakes so specifically that I know anniversaries of them or anything, but I do know that, having met people that lived through the Northridge quake, gas stations are down, there's all sorts of disaster that disrupts your day-to-day. And so it's a very serious, like a friend of mine actually now is never without a case of water in his trunk, just in case he's somewhere. And that's the first time where it dawned on me, these are very real. They can do some real disaster or do some real damage, and you have to be prepared for them. And so this is how I'm looking at this product. It's just that additional level of preparedness that we all have to go through if we live in California. And at that price point, it's kind of a no-brainer. You know, I have a question that's a little bit selfish. So I think I know the answer to this, but being the expert, how often can we expect, like, what's the frequency that you can expect earthquakes? Are we any closer to being able to predict an earthquake of any magnitude?
The short answer is no. However, there's some good things to talk about. So in terms of frequency, there is a 99% chance that within the next 30 years, so sort of the foreseeable lifetime of many of us, there will be a magnitude 6.7 or larger somewhere in California. If we take that up to the Bay Area, it's closer to 70% chance because it's a smaller area as opposed to all of California. And, you know, one of the most interesting portrayals of what could happen in the next big earthquake, particularly for Southern California, is in this video called Preparedness Now. And it was, it's a YouTube video, and it was developed between the Southern California Earthquake Center and the US Geological Survey. And it's a very realistic portrayal of what could really happen. The second way that I'll answer your question is that the one thing that is very exciting right now, and even though it's not earthquake prediction, it's earthquake early warning, which is that if an earthquake happens far away, a very large earthquake happens relatively far away, but still close enough that it's going to affect you, communication waves travel faster than seismic waves. And so we can get alerts that an earthquake is on its way. So these kinds of alerts have been in use in Mexico and in Japan for decades already, actually, where the earthquakes offshore have very significant impacts onshore. And there is this several 100-kilometer gap in between where the earthquakes occur and the cities that are affected by them. Here in California, it's a much harder problem because where the earthquakes originate is much closer to where the centers of population are. But nevertheless, if they're far enough apart, like for example, if an earthquake originated on the San Andreas Fault down near the Salton Sea, Palm Springs area, then there could be enough warning for the people in Los Angeles to get their alerts from their app called Shake Alert before they actually start feeling the shaking. It doesn't work in a situation, in an earthquake like Northridge, that just boom, happens like a bomb went off. That's how everybody describes the Northridge earthquake, right underneath the mountains right there. Wow. Because in that case, the seismic waves are just right there already.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I do have the Shake Alert app. It hasn't gone off. I have felt a few tremors, so I wonder if it's going to be a lifesaver at some point one day. But tell us a little bit about the size of the earthquake required in order to trigger a payout.
Okay, so this is an earthquake that's going to cause some level of disruption to the economy. And it's an earthquake that has an intense shaking intensity. So it's not a little earthquake that wakes you up out of bed, but also is not the huge earthquake that is going to cause massive destruction. Somewhere in between, and we base it on shaking intensity as published by the US Geological Survey. So it's public data. All the shaking intensity that is intense, as defined by the USGS, and that's their color, the red zone color in their shake map, those are eligible for a Jumpstart payment. And the magnitude associated with that red zone shaking intensity is about a magnitude 6. A magnitude 6 is the smallest earthquake that will create a red zone.
It can't be too big. They're going to get paid out if it's...
They're still going to get paid out if there's a really big one, yeah.
Kate, do you have any special messages that you have just for the benefits brokers in California?
So one of the things that pieces of feedback we've received from benefits brokers is that they love the fact of being able to come to their clients with a truly innovative product because it opens the door to a discussion. And the thing that's attracting their clients to Jumpstart is being able to have a a tool in their back pocket to help the recruiting process for people who are coming to California from out of state, who inevitably ask, oh, what about earthquakes? What do I do about earthquakes? You know, all of us who've lived in California for a while have gotten kind of blasé about the earthquake risk, but people moving for the first time, their grandmothers ask them, what about the earthquakes? Have you experienced your first earthquake yet? And here the employer has something in their back pocket to say, you know what, for this very small cost, less than the cost of the vision plan, we have a solution that helps protect you against earthquakes financially.
That's fantastic. And I know our brokers really look for things that will separate them out. A unique product is just pure gold in this market. And so this is going to be something that we're really proud to offer. So we appreciate your partnership, and we look forward to, brokers bringing questions in. And again, LISI broker/Jumpstart, and you can find some information. We'll post some testimonial videos that you've created for this product, and we'll post some other information. Maybe you can set us up with some links or something that could be informative just on earthquakes in general, because I've found this fascinating just to learn a little bit about this from an expert, especially when we live in California, where earthquakes, this is really where they happen in the US. So, okay, is there anything you'd like to sum up with today? I think it's been phenomenal so far.
Thank you, Jeff. I've really enjoyed talking with you. I think that, as you said earlier, having this first step to be financially prepared is really sort of the baseline that all Californians should do. But in addition to that, the one piece of advice that we like to leave everybody with, whether they become a customer or not, is that one of the best ways to be prepared for an earthquake is to get to know your neighbors, because you never know who you're going to need to be able to rely on in a time of emergency and a time of crisis. One person might have an emergency power generator. One person might have a jumpstart policy to be able to spread the funds across the neighborhood. One person might have a lot of extra stored up water. One person might have a child care certificate and be able to look after young kids. And so getting to know your neighbors is something that is a little bit of a lost art, but that's a really a really important way to be prepared.
It is, and what a great sentiment to end on. I love it. It's touching, and getting to know your neighbors is definitely been a lost art. I think. Hopefully COVID subsides, and then all we have to worry about is earthquakes. So I look forward. I look forward to working with you. We look forward to getting you out into the broker community here in California. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate the opportunity to work with LISI.